Okay, so you want to own a convenience store that never closes. The doors stay open while the city sleeps. Drivers need fuel. Night shift workers need coffee. Travelers need food. And somebody always seems willing to pay extra because the supermarket is closed. From the sidewalk, the business looks almost impossible to interrupt. A small building, a bright sign, a few shelves, and money arriving every hour of every day. That is the dream. The problem is that a 24-hour convenience store does not merely sell snacks and gasoline. It sells immediate access. To deliver that access, the lights, refrigerators, payment systems, cameras, staff, insurance, and supply chain must keep working, whether 10 customers arrive in an hour or none do. The same promise that attracts customers also locks the owner into a cost structure that rarely sleeps. In the United States, this is not a tiny corner of retail. The National Association of Convenience Stores reported 151,975 convenience stores operating at the end of 2025. More than 122,000 of them sold motor fuel. During 2025, the industry produced about $817.5 billion in total sales, including $341.2 billion from food service and merchandise inside the store, and $476.3 billion from fuel. Those numbers make the business look enormous, because it is. They can also make a single location look more profitable than it really is. A convenience store is not just a miniature supermarket. It is a high-frequency transaction machine built around location speed, product availability, and habit. The customer is not paying only for a bottle of water. The customer is paying to avoid a 10-minute drive, a long parking lot, a crowded aisle, or a closed kitchen. At 2 in the morning, the value of a hot coffee or phone charger has less to do with the manufacturing cost of the product and more to do with the fact that your door is open. That sounds like pricing power. Sometimes it is. Yet the customer can also see the fuel price from the road, compare nearby stations on a phone, and abandon your location over a difference of a few cents. Inside the store, a customer may tolerate a higher price on one emergency purchase while rejecting the rest of the basket. Convenience creates willingness to pay, but only within limits. Before the first sale, ownership can take several forms. You could buy an independent store, lease a former retail site, purchase a fuel station with an attached shop, convert an existing business, or enter a franchise system. Each path gives you a different balance of control, capital requirements, operating support, and contractual obligations. The franchise version can make entry appear surprisingly affordable because the franchisor may control the land, building, equipment supply relationships, and brand. On its current franchise information pages, 7-Eleven says the initial franchise fee for a traditional store can range from $50,000 to $750,000, depending on the location, with roughly another $29,000 required for an inventory down payment, supplies, licenses, permits, and bonds, plus initial cash for the registers. The company also says it may invest roughly $1 million to $2 million when it develops a new site, and that traditional franchisees share gross profit with the franchisor rather than paying a simple royalty based only on sales. That distinction matters. A low personal entry payment does not mean the underlying store is cheap. It may mean somebody else owns the expensive assets and recovers that investment through the contract. If you build independently, the hidden balance sheet moves onto your side. Land must be acquired or leased. The store needs refrigeration, freezers, shelving, point-of-sale equipment, cameras, safes, signage, backup systems, food preparation equipment, waste handling, and sufficient electrical capacity. Add a fuel operation, and the project becomes an environmental and infrastructure business. Underground tanks, piping, leak detection, spill protection, overfill protection, corrosion control, inspections, records, and financial responsibility requirements become part of ownership. The Environmental Protection Agency requires federally regulated underground storage tanks to be registered with the appropriate authority and to meet leak detection, spill overfill, and corrosion protection rules. Owners must maintain records, respond to suspected releases, and demonstrate the financial capacity to address environmental damage. A leak is not simply a maintenance problem. It can become a cleanup obligation attached to the property itself. Money is only one gatekeeper. Zoning determines whether a store, fuel canopy, illuminated sign, loading area, or late-night operation is permitted at the location. Local health authorities regulate food preparation. Tobacco, alcohol, lottery, and fuel sales can each require separate licenses or approvals depending on the state and municipality. Fire codes, accessibility rules, weights and measures inspections, employment law, food safety, insurance, and franchise disclosure requirements all sit between the ownership fantasy and the grand opening. The location must also pass a commercial test. A beautiful store on the wrong side of a divided road can fail. So can a site with strong daytime traffic but almost no safe access at night. Visibility turning movements nearby, employers, commuter patterns, schools, hospitals, delivery routes, competition, crime, and neighborhood growth all shape the transaction count. The building is visible, the traffic pattern is the real asset. Once the doors open, revenue arrives in layers. Fuel is the most obvious. In 2025, it represented about 65% of convenience store sales dollars in the United States. That headline can fool an inexperienced owner because fuel revenue includes the wholesale cost of the product. A large number flows through the register, but most of it immediately belongs to the refiner, distributor, tax authorities, card networks, and other participants in the chain. NACS reported an average retail fuel gross margin of 39.7 cents per gallon in 2025. Gross margin is not net profit. It is what remains after the direct cost of the fuel before the station pays the expenses required to sell it. NACS estimates that retailer expenses related to fuel can absorb roughly 20 to 25 cents per gallon, including about 8 cents per gallon in card fees. In recent industry data, a price sign showing millions of dollars in annual fuel sales can therefore coexist with a modest final contribution to the owner. Fuel still matters because it manufactures visits. It pulls vehicles onto the property, creates a reason to stop, and gives the store a chance to sell higher margin products. More than half of fuel customers enter the store in recent NACS consumer research, whether to pay, use the restroom, buy food, or add something to the trip. The pump is not only a product, it is customer acquisition. Inside the store, the economics improve, but they also become operationally harder. Packaged drinks, candy, salty snacks, beer where permitted, tobacco products, basic groceries, personal care items, phone accessories, and emergency household goods. Create the familiar convenience store mix. Each category behaves differently. Cigarettes can generate frequent visits, but face long-term volume pressure, age verification obligations, theft risk, regulation, and limited pricing freedom. Packaged beverages move quickly and often pair with food. Lottery tickets can produce traffic while providing only a commission rather than the full ticket value as revenue. An ATM may pay a fee, but requires cash handling and security. Foodservice changes the model more dramatically. Coffee, fountain drinks, sandwiches, pizza, fried food, bakery products, and made-to-order meals can produce stronger gross margins than many traditional products. NACS reported that foodservice accounted for 28.5% of in-store sales in 2025, but 38.9% of in-store gross profit dollars. That gap explains why modern operators keep adding kitchens, coffee programs, fresh food loyalty offers, and delivery. Food, however, turns a simple retailer into a small restaurant. Employees must prepare products, clean equipment, monitor holding temperatures, prevent contamination, rotate inventory, and throw away what cannot be sold safely. A candy bar can wait on a shelf. A breakfast sandwich cannot. Higher margin arrives with labor, spoilage, health code exposure, and execution risk. Other revenue can come from delivery fees, money orders, bill payment, package pickup, car washes, propane exchange, advertising screens, branded financial services, or rent from a fast food counter. These small streams matter because they use the same location and traffic. The strongest stores do not depend on one product. They turn each visit into several possible transactions. Now, the cost machine begins. A store open 24 hours a day must cover 168 operating hours every week. Keeping only one employee present at all times requires 8,760 labor hours a year. At the 2025 average convenience store associate wage reported by NACS, $15.04 per hour, that single continuous position costs about $131,750 in wages, before payroll taxes, overtime benefits, training, turnover, or management coverage. One person is rarely enough. Deliveries arrive. Restrooms need attention. Food must be prepared. Shelves require stocking. Someone may need to clean a spill while another customer waits at the counter. During busy periods, 2 or 3 employees may be necessary. During late-night hours, a second worker may be justified by safety, even when sales are low. The payroll needed to maintain the promise of constant availability can become the largest controllable expense in the store. Labor is also difficult to reduce cleanly. Closing for 6 slow overnight hours may save wages and utilities, but it changes the identity of the location, weakens customer habit, complicates franchise obligations, and may send fuel traffic to a competitor that remains open. Some franchise systems require continuous operation where the law allows it. The owner is not simply buying labor hour by hour. The owner is protecting a reliability promise. Electricity follows the same pattern. Refrigerators, freezers, lights, hot food equipment, air conditioning, signage, payment terminals, security systems, and fuel pumps remain active throughout the night. Doors open repeatedly in summer and winter. Compressors fail at inconvenient times. A refrigeration breakdown can destroy inventory before a repair technician arrives. Then come card fees. The industry reported a record $21.3 billion in credit and debit card fees for 2025. A convenience store processes many small transactions, and the fee structure can punish small baskets. On fuel, the customer may see a high dollar total caused by the commodity price, while the retailer earns only a thin amount per gallon and still pays the card network based partly on the transaction value. Shrink is another quiet expense. Some inventory is stolen by customers. Some disappears through employee theft, receiving errors, inaccurate counts, damaged packaging, expired food, incorrect preparation, or simple waste. A 1% problem inside a business handling millions of dollars is not a rounding error. It can erase much of the owner's income. Maintenance never ends because the building is used continuously. Coffee machines clog. Ice makers stop. Restroom fixtures break. Door seals wear out. Fuel dispensers need service. Parking lots deteriorate. Cameras become obsolete. Payment systems require upgrades. The owner who delays repairs may preserve cash for a month and lose customers for a year. Insurance and security deserve separate attention. Late-night retail combines accessible cash, small staffs, public access, and periods with few witnesses. OSHA has long treated late-night retail as a workplace violence risk. In a 2024 enforcement case involving a Circle K location in Florida, the agency emphasized that workers in all-night businesses face elevated danger when stores are poorly lit, lightly staffed, and accessible to robbers. OSHA cited research showing that the 2019 rate of deadly workplace violence among convenience store workers was 14 times the rate for private industry workers overall. That risk changes the economics. Better lighting, clear windows, drop safes, cash control procedures, cameras, panic alarms, employee training, multiple person staffing, and secure store design cost money. Failing to provide them can cost far more. The night shift is not simply a cheaper version of the day shift with fewer customers. It is a different operating environment. This creates the central trap of the business. The store's competitive advantage is that it is always available. Yet being always available creates costs that do not adjust quickly when demand falls. Revenue is variable by hour, season, fuel price, local traffic, and consumer confidence. The refrigerators, lease debt, insurance, compliance, and minimum staffing schedule are far less flexible. High transaction volume makes this structure powerful. Once the fixed operating platform is covered, additional coffee, food, drink, and fuel purchases can produce attractive incremental profit. Low volume reverses the effect. The same platform remains open, but each transaction carries too much of the cost. Economists call this operating leverage. In plain language, it means a busy store can become much more profitable without doubling its building or management expense, while a weak store can lose money even though customers still appear at the counter every hour. A simple one-year model shows how quickly the result can change. Imagine an independent store with fuel in a reasonably strong location. The figures are illustrative, not the reported results of a specific company. The store produces about $2.8 million in annual inside sales. With a blended gross margin of 34%, Merchandise and food service contribute roughly $952,000 of gross profit before operating expenses. Outside the location sells 1.5 million gallons of fuel. At a gross margin of 39.7 cents per gallon, fuel contributes about $596,000 before card costs, labor, maintenance, and the other expenses required to operate the forecourt. ATM, fees, lottery commissions, delivery, and miscellaneous services add another $60,000. The total gross profit pool is therefore about $1.61 million. From that amount, subtract $520,000 for store labor and management. Occupancy and debt service consume $230,000. Card processing takes $180,000 across fuel and in-store purchases. Utilities cost $110,000. Maintenance and repairs take $80,000. Insurance, licenses, compliance, and security require $85,000. Shrink and spoilage absorb $70,000. Cleaning supplies, waste, and uniforms cost $55,000. Local marketing, software, accounting, and administration take $45,000. Finally, the owner reserves $90,000 for equipment replacement and future capital needs. The store has handled well over $7 million in customer sales when fuel revenue is included. Yet the illustrative operating cash result before the owner's personal taxes is only about $140,000. That can be a good living. It is not effortless money. The return must compensate the owner for invested capital, personal guarantees, operational risk, late-night emergencies, and the possibility that the store itself is the owner's full-time job. Now change only a few variables. A road project makes access harder, a competitor opens nearby, or local employment weakens. Inside sales fall 8%. To keep traffic, the owner uses more promotions, and the inside gross margin slips from 34% to 32%. Fuel gallons decline 10%. Together, those changes remove roughly $187,000 from the gross profit pool. Management cuts some labor hours orders more carefully and reduces marketing, saving perhaps $60,000. Most costs remain. The normal year profit has nearly disappeared. If a compressor fails, insurance increases, or a fuel system repair arrives, the store moves into a loss. Nothing dramatic had to happen. The doors remained open, customers still came, revenue still looked large. The business failed at the margin because a thin layer of owner income was supporting a thick layer of fixed obligations. The collapse of Foxtrot and its parent Outfox Hospitality offers a more dramatic version of the same lesson. Foxtrot began as a delivery app and developed into an upscale neighborhood convenience concept, selling coffee, prepared food, private label snacks, wine, and locally sourced products. Investors liked the idea. The company raised $160 million in a Series C round in 2022 and expanded across Chicago, Dallas, Austin, and Washington, D.C. In late 2023, Foxtrot merged with Dom's Kitchen and Market, presenting the combination as a new, multi-format food retail and e-commerce platform. 5 months later, on April 23, 2024, the company abruptly closed its stores. NACS reported that 33 Foxtrot locations and 2 Dom's stores ceased operating after management concluded there was no viable path forward. The corporate entities entered Chapter 7 bankruptcy in May, with court records later reflecting thousands of creditors. The failure was not proof that customers hated premium convenience. Foxtrot had a recognizable brand, attractive stores, loyal shoppers, and substantial outside funding. The lesson was more structural. A fashionable concept does not eliminate store-level economics. Rapid expansion multiplies leases, payroll, inventory, construction commitments, supplier obligations, and corporate overhead before mature locations have generated enough cash to support the network. Growth can make a weak unit model look successful because new capital pays old obligations. When financing stops, the difference between customer enthusiasm and operating cash becomes visible very quickly. A successful operator approaches the same machine differently. Casey's General Stores built a large network across smaller cities and rural communities, combining fuel and convenience retail with a food business that includes pizza bakery items and hot sandwiches. In its fiscal year ended April 30, 2025, Casey's reported record net income of about $546.5 million and adjusted earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization of about $1.2 billion. That second measure, commonly called EBITDA, is a rough way to view operating earnings before financing, taxes, and certain non-cash charges, though it is not the same as cash flow or net income. Casey's inside same-store sales increased 2.6% for the fiscal year. The company expanded by building or acquiring 270 stores, including the acquisition of 198 CEFCO locations. Its rewards program exceeded 9 million members. In the fourth quarter, the company reported an inside margin of 41.2%, while fuel margin was 37.6 cents per gallon. The important advantage was not simply size. Casey's used scale to buy more effectively spread technology and corporate costs across more stores, develop proprietary food, build customer data through loyalty, and create a reason to visit beyond the fuel price. Pizza is not an accessory to the model. It helps turn the store into a meal destination with stronger gross profit and more control over the customer relationship. Scale also improves bargaining power. A single owner negotiates with distributors, card processors, insurers, landlords, equipment vendors, and fuel suppliers from a weak position. A chain can aggregate purchases, standardize maintenance, move managers between locations, test products across markets, and use data from thousands of transactions to refine assortment and pricing. One store learns slowly. A network learns every hour. That advantage has a limit. Large chains can still overpay for acquisitions, misread traffic, accumulate debt, or force a format into the wrong neighborhood. Scale protects good unit economics. It does not permanently hide bad ones. The customer retains bargaining power as well. Fuel prices are transparent. Delivery apps make prepared food comparable. Supermarkets extend hours. Dollar stores add refrigerated products. Quick service restaurants improve coffee and mobile ordering. Pharmacies' vending systems and automated retail compete for emergency purchases. A convenience store must charge enough to support constant availability without making the convenience premium feel like punishment. The best operators respond by increasing the value of the stop. Cleaner restrooms attract travelers. Reliable coffee builds morning habit. Fresh food lifts the basket. Loyalty pricing reduces the visibility of the premium. Fast checkout protects the main promise. A well-lit property feels safer. Accurate inventory keeps the product available when the customer needs it. These details look operational, but together they are the business model. The future will put more pressure on fuel-dependent stores. Electric vehicles do not eliminate the need for roadside retail, but they change the visit. A gasoline stop may last several minutes. Charging can last much longer, which creates an opportunity for food seating, work areas, parcel services, and better restrooms. It also requires electrical capacity, charging equipment, utility coordination, and capital. The store may evolve from a quick fuel stop into a small hospitality and energy site. At the same time, automation can reduce some repetitive work without removing the need for people. Self-checkout, computer-assisted ordering, electronic shelf labels, remote monitoring, and predictive maintenance can improve control. Kitchens, customer service, safety, cleaning, age-restricted sales, and unexpected problems remain stubbornly physical. Technology changes the labor mix more readily than it eliminates labor. Delivery creates another contradiction. It can extend the store's market beyond passing traffic, but the platform may take a commission, control customer data, and encourage price comparison. A sale that increases revenue can contribute little after picking labor, packaging, discount spoilage, and platform fees. The owner has to measure contribution, not celebrate volume. That is the deeper discipline of owning a 24-hour convenience store. Sales are not gross profit. Gross profit is not operating profit. Operating profit is not cash flow. A store can process millions of dollars pay every supplier, keep every refrigerator running, and leave the owner with less than the income of a salaried manager. None of this means the business is automatically a good or bad investment. Results change with location, financing, licensing, lease terms, fuel contracts, labor markets, security conditions, product mix, and management. The figures here explain the machine and historical cases rather than provide personalized financial, legal, accounting, or investment advice. The right location can still be extraordinarily durable. People value speed. Daily habits are powerful. Food service can deepen margins. Fuel charging, delivery, loyalty, and local services can create several reasons to visit the same small property. A strong store becomes part of the neighborhood's routine and earns money from thousands of minor decisions that competitors cannot easily intercept. But the owner is not buying shelves full of snacks. You thought you were buying a little store that makes money all day and all night. What you were really buying was a promise to be available every minute and a cost machine that keeps running until that promise is broken.